May I now invite Mr. Polykarpos Yiannoudes, General Manager of UIBS, a Microsoft partner. Mr. Yiannoudes will deliver a presentation on digital perseverance, achieving continued and accelerated innovation, a transformation journey with Columbia Shipmanagement and global maritime service companies. Mr. Yiannoudes.
Hello, everyone. A few seconds to get the PowerPoint up. So thank you very much for everyone being here today. My name is Polykarpos Yiannoudes. I work for UIBS, United Business Solutions. We are a Microsoft partner, and I wish to welcome the Cyprus Shipping Deputy Minister and the supporters of this event, the Cyprus Shipping Chamber, Cyprus Union of Ship Owners, Cyprus Marine Club, CyMEPA, Vista Cyprus, Young Chic Cyprus, and of course the CSN Cyprus Shipping for hosting this event. Since 2005, we've been helping companies in the maritime industry as well as other industries with a mission of using technologies to improve people's lives and to empower every person in an organization to achieve more by utilizing both UIBS and Microsoft strategies and technologies with always best practices in mind. And this is what I will be talking to you about today. The work we have done and have been doing for this industry, and how to embrace the digital transformation movement. And we wanted to share some key points that we learned and what makes us inspired as UIBS to give our best work out during engagements with companies like the Columbia Shipmanagement and other maritime companies. Today, we're going to talk about how you can innovate across the hybrid cloud, the multi-cloud, or even on-prem, and some of the key planning and technology advancements that we are confident will be very relevant to you. So we're going to break down today's presentation in 4 sections. We're going to talk a little bit about the Microsoft Cloud. We're going to dive into the Columbia Shipmanagement best practices during their digital journey. We're going to then discuss the multi-cloud and Azure Arc, a single plane of managing all your technologies. And then we're going to open it up to any questions or comments you may have. So, before we begin and discuss about the Microsoft Cloud, let's have a look at broad trends and how they look today in our environment. Global industries are facing disruptive changes. They want to build more agile factories, for example, when it comes to manufacturers. They want to create more resilient supply chains. And everyone is looking how to engage customers in a new way. Retailers, on the other side, are adopting a digital-first mindset. Everyone is trying to reimagine an in-person retail experience within the digital environment. Everyone is trying to deliver differentiated online experiences, and everyone is trying to know the customer more by collecting data and how to empower their sales. On the healthcare system, for example, we have ongoing impacts of enhancing patient engagements, empowering health and team collaboration, improve clinical and operational insights. And finally, the next generation technologies are pushing finance to modernize the payment system, to manage risk across financial organizations, and to combat financial crime. So in all sectors, we see there's a lot of change and turmoil going on. If we look a step back, we're going to focus on what are the main 5 points that every business is trying to achieve. Everyone is trying to accelerate growth. Everyone is trying to accelerate their growth through innovation by building applications, new applications. Everyone is trying to secure and govern their distributed digital estate. They want to deliver products as a service, transform data into new products, and meet the changing and challenging regulations in all their industries. So how do we make this happen? As a Microsoft partner, we believe in the Microsoft ecosystem, and Microsoft believes that Azure is now the world's computer. And let's see how that entails the world's computer. How big is this thing, and whether it really counts? Today, there are over 200 physical data centers arranged in more than 65 regions. Everything is connected through 175,000 miles of fiber. And all these data centers together, interconnected, are much bigger than Amazon and Google combined. So we're really looking at a single network that is very powerful, and it's providing an unprecedented scalability, very low latency, which is important when you have any application online, and high availability. So, as Microsoft partners, we're incredibly proud and humbled that more than 95% of Fortune 500 companies trust their workloads to Azure. On the slide, you will see a lot of familiar, very global-sized companies that already run on the Microsoft Azure. And that makes Microsoft to take the immense responsibility very seriously. And it's why Microsoft is so deeply committed to ensure Azure is the best cloud to support the ambitions of any size of any company. And these industries, as you can see, from retail to automotive to airlines to maritime, all are trying to do really meaningful things on the cloud. When it comes to UIBS, we are very proud, and I'm very pleased to see many of you here today, that we have worked with some of the leading maritime companies over the past 20 years, and to be named as the Microsoft Azure Circle partner when Azure was only a handful of data centers back in 2014. It is also imperative to see that just the last quarter in 2022, in the maritime industry, over 154% of increase is mentioned in company filings that cloud is in the center. So, let's take a look at our second section and see how some of the key digital transformation journey points during Columbia's Shipmanagement journey made a difference, and we would like to share with you if you are on the way to this path, if you are already done with the path, or if you are even starting today. So at any given point of time, if you are trying to go into hybrid or move to the cloud, you're looking at priorities. And we see that identity, security, and billing should come first when it comes to designing for moving to the cloud. Let's take this from the planning perspective as well. If any of you, and I think we have a wonderful crowd today with policy makers, decision makers, and IT decision makers. When it's coming to moving to the cloud, it's like building a construction. Built in on how cloud operating models define how cloud environments are used. And let's look at how we define those foundations for those environments. So if you're planning to move to the cloud, you need to start from this type of question. Are you going to build a house? Are you going to build a stadium? Or are you in the process of building a bridge from your own data center, your own computer environment to the cloud? It's also true how you design a physical construction to how we design cloud constructions. So you need to define first your landing zone. And one of the key examples, if you are going to make this question, is if you are able to answer any of these points at any given time. Starting a journey based on best practice with a start to finish plan. Creating a well-designed foundation for a cloud environment that would enable the safe adoption of new technologies at pace. And the pace is very important because you may not be able to do everything at a single point of time. Consider using repeatable environment designs, which brings the costs really low, and it helps out a manageable way of adapting to the cloud. Baking in repeatable best practices makes the environment deployment much easier, and factoring your team's technical skills, it's very important into your environment planning. So when you are going to land into one of these zones, in general, we try to offer repeatable package environments. We try to enable migrations for the new apps, and we simplify the process of starting a cloud environment so that we can enable teams to focus on migrations or innovations. So usually you can do this, but not with the same team. So let's go a little bit deeper. During the design phase, some of the key points that some companies we saw find out sometimes at the end, and it's not very pleasant, is about billing and about your identity and about your design. So if you start moving things on the cloud without calculating all these things, you need to make sure that billing is completely classified and clear to the financial and the business owners, and that the identity part is also defined to make sure who has access to this data and when. And remember that there is no digital transformation, and what is digital without data? Digital is data. So you need to make sure that you know who has access, who is going to have access, what are the resource organizations within your cloud, and what is the network topology well ahead in your planning phase before you start moving to the cloud. One of my favorite points is what we also say, the business, don't burn your bridges. It's the same concept in the cloud. And that's why we have what is called the Microsoft Arc, which is a bridge between your existing environment and the Azure environment. So in case at some point you need to move some of the data back to your on-prem, you always have a bridge in place, an arc, that allows you to move things back and forth. Another major point is the adoption of technology. And you see that there's always three pillars in here. You always have the people, the process, and technology as being the underlying foundation for balancing the two. And it's always between the control and stability that one governed team should offer versus the speed and results that usually the migration team is on. So balancing this is also very important. It's important also to align with business, people, and technology in a single strategy to achieve a business goal that is actionable, efficient, and comprehensive, and to deliver fast results with shorter iterations and control and stability on the Azure cloud. I will skip through. I get a message that we're moving on. So, looking at some of the cloud adoption framework plans that we put in place with CSM, we define first the strategy. We plan the digital estate. We are getting people ready, not just the cloud technology, but people need to be ready to do the migration. And then we have to decide whether the data that you have will have to be migrated to a new platform like a SaaS, or whether you're going to lift and shift your own existing environment, either a legacy mainframe app, and put it on the cloud. They're both possible. And always at the bottom, there should be two teams governing the process. The one team is the governors, who have the methodology, they benchmark our work, and they governs the maturity of the progress. On the right-hand side, we have the management team that is focusing on the business commitments, the operations baseline, and the operations maturity. So the two teams are also very important for a successful cloud migration. Okay, let's move along. So here are the two teams that I talked about. Adoption team is all about speed. Cloud governance team within your organization, it's the control team. And the two need to work together towards the same goal. So let's talk about some key takeaways. People come first. And one of the key things that we saw works very well for organizations is to have this type of readiness adoption plans. We've been through a lot of events this month, and we saw, we need, new people, but it's not only about new people. It's more important to educate and upskill existing personnel than getting only new developers doing work, because the upskill maturity is much more important at this point due to the intensity of the data details that are found in cloud migrations. So you can do this type of thing within your organization. You can find existing even titles of people in your teams. We have what is called, we used to have what is called a UI UX designer, and we need to find a way to make them now a business architect, because that's what they've been doing in the previous world versus the new world. Same applies for a developer. They may not develop the existing legacy, but it's easier to upskill an existing developer to become an engineering and DevOps person. Same applies for a tester, for example, that can become now a process engineer. So this is very important to sit down, organize, and identify the gaps, find the strategic skills for the new era, look across all teams, even outside of IT, because it's not only about IT, and create an organization-wide learning plan, because the past 10 years are going to be, the next 10 years are going to be completely different from the past 10 years as we saw them. A second key takeaway was to have this type of cloud adoption plan workshops when you do this process. And this will help maintain very stable and safe steps to the cloud. How are you organizing your people and teams for cloud transformation? Where does accountability reside for application creation, and what is our availability? What are the current skill gaps? How do your people train and skill up? And what is the prioritized list of applications you are moving to the cloud? So it's good to have this type of lists, plans, shorter, each one for maybe one application at a time, and be able to answer them as you move to the cloud. Now, I will skip this through, although all the slides will be shared. They're quite involved, but one of the next major thing is, okay, what if I want to move to the cloud, but my regulations, especially in Europe, are not aligned? And I wanted to share a couple of slides of what Microsoft has been doing. The Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty is about data residency, sovereign controls, governance and transparency, and the expertise. And it's all in place. I'm sure you will see those on the slides, but I wanted to share the very next one, which is what they have announced for Europe. Yes, on May 18th, 2022, this is Microsoft's commitment behind their cloud and behind EU, European cloud provider support. So they have really committed to 5 specific areas, and this will ensure that they will be completely aligned, because even if it's a one single network, all the technologies are there to make sure that EU or even specific sovereign regulations like Germany will ensure that the data will not be traveled, for example, and they will remain regulated, secure, and compliant within the country's environment. So very important to see that a commercial partner like Microsoft is doing all these steps to align. Finding up, let's look at a new concept I wanted to share. Not so new for some, but the cloud repatriation concept. So it's what we talked about, not burning our bridges. So as we grow on the cloud, multiple vendors are there, and we may end up with environments like this one, where your data might be on-prem at the bottom. You may have multiple tenants in Azure on Office 365, one other tenant with Dynamics. You may have Kubernetes on Google Cloud, and you may have different services on Amazon. So how do you manage all these things, and how do you ensure you have a single policy across all your devices, all your servers? And the answer for this is Arc. Microsoft Arc is a new add-on product. It's basically, think of it as a single control panel that will allow you to connect even existing legacy servers or any type of IoT on the edge, on-prem, and it will give you this type of view for any environment you have, whether it's on-prem, whether it's on Amazon Cloud, or whether it's on Azure Cloud. So very interesting. I wanted to touch it on just to bring some awareness, and you can find out a lot more, or you can contact us for more details. So closing up, the whole idea is this: to innovate anywhere with Azure. So we can develop cloud-native operations anywhere. You can harness data insights from the cloud to the edge, like the previous partner we just saw, which they are innovating wonderfully on the cloud, bringing all the data from the vessels back. They analyze. We talked about AI Twin. All that needs to be harnessed through the cloud. You can secure and govern across any environment, even your own data center. So not everything needs to go on the cloud if it doesn't have to. And you need to maintain flexibility so that you can meet your regulatory and connectivity needs. That's about it for today. Thank you very much for your time. I just wanted to add, as a closing remark, that I wanted to thank and wish our appreciation for the Columbia executive team, as well as many of you that trusted UIBS over the past years, and especially Alexander and Dimitris that have joined some slides and helped on this presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yiannoudes. One question for you.
Sure.
Obviously, the overarching concern of the industry is decarbonization, so the question is relevant. It says, what is the tech industry doing for a negative CO2 footprint initiative? And are there any tools from vendors that can help companies monitor their sustainability of the technology footprint?
Yes, definitely. I can share also some reports about the cost efficiency. Okay, Microsoft, at least, which I can talk of because we are mostly involved, they claim up to 94% decrease in CO2s when you move workload to the cloud. And they promised a net zero Azure CO2 by 2030, which is very impressive for such large data centers. Now, in terms of the management and control, behind some of the pictures I've shown you, the tools, there is already a free Power BI template that companies and your IT can download, and they can set up so that sensoring from any metering of anything that is plugged in from the edge, from your on-prem, will be calculated automatically. It will tell you where CO2 is being consumed. You can have thresholds, and your management can make some decisions whether you need to upgrade, whether you need to turn off some of those machines, or whether you need to make some decisions on innovating on new apps. So the technology is all there. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yiannoudes.